The golden age of football. What is it? I don't know about you, but I often hear this term used a lot by new heads and old heads alike, and they use it as a term to describe, for more often than not, about their favorite era of watching football, the NFL in particular. And even when you ask this question to multiple people, you will get multiple different answers. Now, are most of these answers wrong? Well, objectively, yes. But there is a set period in NFL that is known by many to be the golden age. But in a particular sense, subjectively, no, they are not wrong. Now, why is this? Let me explain. But before we continue on, if you happen to like this video, then consider giving this video a like rating, as that would be much appreciated and it helps out the channel more than you know. Also, if you happen to be new to the channel and like these videos, then consider subscribing to the channel, as I post videos like these at least 2 times a week. You do not want to miss out. Anyways, let's continue on to the video. The official definition of the term golden age, and this is the Merriam-Webster definition, and I like this definition because a part of it will explain the later part of the video. The definition states that the golden age is a period of great happiness, prosperity, and achievement. By this definition, in order for a certain period to hit golden age status, it has to fit 3 categories, those being prosperity, achievement, and happiness. There have been many common and well-known golden age periods in different forms of media like television and radio, and in human history like the Renaissance in the 50s and the 60s for the most part. There are other well-known golden ages like the golden age of comics and the golden age of hip-hop. Like media and history, the NFL actually does have in its history known as the golden age, and it takes place during the 1950s and ends around in the early 60s, I would say. It's not 100% clear on when it really ended, but personally I would say it ended around either the merger or around the introduction of the first Super Bowl in 1966. So if you want exact years, then I would say 1950 to 1966. Now that some of you guys have your objective answer of when was the NFL golden age, there is still the question on why it is called the golden age. So here we go. Back during the 1940s, or you can even go further back to when it first started in the 20s, but during this period the NFL had some solid traction to the game from its start to the late 40s. They had been playing second fiddle to the popular, well-known, and well-established college football, and that has some hard competition to beat, as people have been watching it since the late 19th century. Not to mention, college ball had its golden age, also known as the gridiron period, during the 20s. So how was the NFL supposed to compete, you ask? Well, it started with the introduction of the NFL draft in 1936, where they got college stars and managed to transfer them to the NFL. This was mildly successful, but due to low base pay, many people chose not to sign to the newly formed Pro League. Things took a massive change when the NFL first was televised on October 22nd, 1939, when the NFL made a deal with NBC. And just after a few short years, fans started to develop a strong liking to the NFL, which allowed more people to buy tickets, and ratings went through the roof. This soon made NBC televise every game nationwide, which meant the league itself was pulling in a lot more money than before. Having this bigger budget increased cap space for teams, which in turn meant a higher salary for players. Although not nearly the most ideal play, it was enough for many well-known college stars to join the pros. This in turn allowed many college fans to switch to the NFL to see how their college star plays with some of the best football has to offer. This kind of thing kept building until the early 50s. It started to not only compete with college football, but it was eventually able to overtake it by the induction of the first Super Bowl. Okay, so now at this point we know when the golden age began and how it started. If you go to other sources, particularly the NFL Reddit, many people said that right now would be the golden age of the NFL, while others would say the 1980s or the early 2000s. And really, these opinions are not wrong subjectively, which I'll cover in a second. However, they are objectively incorrect, as technically it started in the 1950s. Let's go back to the definition of a golden age I stated earlier. Notice how I said there are 3 main categories for a period to be known as a golden age, those criteria being prosperity, achievement, and happiness. Let's have a look to see if the NFL in the 1950s fit all 3 of these criteria, starting with prosperity. The NFL in the 1950s definitely claims this title due to it being so successful and loved by fans when it first aired. It provided a fresh breath of air for sports fans and players alike. Many different personalities by players was new and exciting to watch. It was known as a fun time, and lastly, it was able to prosper so quickly with its introduction to television, quickly becoming America's game by the 1960s. So prosperity is checked off. Let's look at achievement. This age is definitely the most important in NFL's history because it was a rite of passage to come to the top. The NFL achieved so much during the 1950s as it was able to pass college ball, but by the 70s it passed baseball as well. So both prosperity and achievement is checked. But what about happiness? I guess this one can be a little subjective, but the overall consensus for sports fans was a big fat yes. Many people who watched the NFL at that time really liked it for the most part. So there you go. This is able to fill all three categories. So by definition, it is a golden age, but more particularly so because it was the biggest in the initial jump to fame more than any other era. But if this was the case, then why are people saying that other eras are considered the golden age of the NFL? Well, this is where subjectively they would be correct in them saying that, and it's understandable why people would think that, because you have to take this into account, the people you are asking the question to. Consider this: what are the chances someone that would be, let's just say 20, saying that they loved watching or watched the NFL in the 1950s? Chances are no one would say that, except for me, of course. They were not born in 1930 to watch these games live. The people that were able to see the actual golden age of football are very old people. Younger fans don't find this kind of NFL enjoyable. See, what happens is that they get those three criterias and mix it in with their own personal experiences of watching NFL and claim that is the golden age. This brings up another big question, and that is, are they wrong? Well, not really. Think like this: today's NFL, the modern era of football, let's put it under three criteria and see whether or not it fits the status of golden age. Well, right off the bat, it fits prosperity. It's the most popular sport in the country right now, and is still known as America's game. So that's checked off, but what about achievement? Modern era also checks off this category as well due to its advancements of making the game safer with new helmet designs and field designs, and players breaking records and exciting milestones are being achieved as new players rise up and provide fun competition. Last up is happiness. This one is subjective as always, but the narrative does not really change when looking at the overall consensus of the masses. It's still loved by millions of people and it makes them happy, myself included. Therefore, all three are checked off. So by definition, it's technically a golden age of the NFL. So in reality, you can say any era is known as a golden age, and that can be backed up with the right claims. So when you ask someone like myself, when was the golden age of the NFL? I would probably either give you an objective answer, or I would use my own personal experience watching the NFL and tell you it was from 2013 up to now. For those who don't know, I started watching NFL around 2013. Now, is that correct? Well, in my narrative, based on my personal experience, it would be correct. Nah, but actually when looking back on my personal favorite era of football to watch, and believe me, I watched just about every era from the 1920s till now. I would say the most fun to watch was around the early 2000s, late 90s, up to 2010 kind of range. It was just my favorite personally to watch, but that's just me. But if you're an actual NFL fan and wanting to know when the golden age of the NFL was, well, now you know. But also think to yourself, in your opinion, understand the three criterias and answer this question: when was your golden age of the NFL? Well, there you all have it. I would go into detail about the actual events of the golden age, but that would be pointless and boring. Instead, you can go ahead and watch other YouTube videos about the golden age and what was actually like, and see for yourself. These videos are very hard to find, but anything by NFL films would work. I'd have a link in the description to the video talking about the atmosphere of the golden age. I highly recommend you all check that out, as you will definitely know by the time you finished watching. But that will be all for the video today. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and if you happen to like this video, then consider dropping a like rating, as it helps out the channel a lot. And if you happen to be new to the channel, then consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you all next video. Peace out and have a good day.